Hello, ladies, and welcome to my bonus material. And I am glad to be able to offer this to you. Hopefully, you've had an opportunity to print out yours. And there are 6 different areas that we're going to cover today. Some of this material really overlaps with what we've talked about in our blueprint over the last 4 weeks. But then there's some new things that we will cover. And so hopefully you've had a chance to look at it, but I hope that these are some things that will help you on your journey. The fact is, I purposely use the image of doing a blueprint because I feel it's so important to have a plan. Just like you would never consider building a house or doing any big project or plan a huge vacation without first coming up with a plan. And so hopefully, as you are going through all of the materials that we've talked about, you're seeing the importance of not only concentrating on those big issues like food and exercise, sleep, all of those types of things, but you'll realize that there's so many other things that we have to consider. So let's go ahead and dive into the sheets, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and bring them up and let's get started. So, all right. Okay, so first of all, when we think of lifestyle, we're talking about not necessarily the food itself, but just those day-to-day practices. And that's really what it takes. It takes practice. It isn't something that we're going to do once and it become a habit. The more we do it, the more it's going to become a habit. And then we'll sort of edge out those things, those negative things that are in the way of us seeing success. So as we look at the different things, I'm sure some of these maybe were a surprise to you. I know this is material that I got when I started my health coaching certification. And some of them were a surprise, some of them were not. I haven't had a microwave in, I would say, a good 10 to 12 years. And mine broke and I never replaced it. And even when I had it, I really didn't like heating food in it. There's still a lot of controversy. There are those that say microwaves are perfectly okay. But in my mind, there's still enough of people that are saying, you know, there's maybe some radiation that we're getting. And I never was really pleased with how food came out. To be perfectly honest, I still like cooking it on the stove. So again, it's just something to be mindful of. Definitely don't stand in front of one and do not heat plastic in a microwave. It definitely changes the chemical makeup of food too. So again, something to consider. I just now, after, I don't even want to say how many years, now am cooking with gas. Always had electricity and have finally switched over to gas just this year with our remodel. Some of these I think are probably pretty self-explanatory. One that really surprised me, and I want to give a little bit of time to, is the importance of chewing your food well. Your food should literally be liquefied before you swallow. That means that you are going to be chewing multiple times, at least 30 to 50 times. And I know that seems like such a stretch, but the fact is we need to be chewing. And so it's very, very important. And then maybe there's some other things. One of the things is don't drive while you eat or eat in your car, even if it's not moving. We need to be in the most comfortable, we need to be in the most serene, peaceful place when we're eating. When we're stressed, the body knows it. And if we're angry, we're stressed, we are rushed, then we're really not going to digest our food well. And a lot of the gut issues that people often have, including acid reflux, indigestion, bloating, all of those things can be directly tied to eating fast. Constipation is another one. When we think of eating, like I said, it needs to be liquid as it's going down our throat, because the opening that the food has to go through is so, so tiny. And when we eat fast, when we don't chew well, and we've got these big chunks going down, it's more work for the body to digest the food. And the longer the food stays in your stomach, in the small and large intestines, the more it has time to ferment and basically get pretty nasty. And so we need to pretty much think of like just drinking, you know. It's obviously digested a lot faster, a liquid versus a solid. So the more that we can chew our food, chew it well, the better off that we are. All right, so let's go to relationships. Now, we've talked about that. Actually, last week's session dealt with relationships. I won't spend a lot of time, but it is so very important that we are very mindful of how we spend our time and the people that are part of our lives. We need to do the best to be on good terms. You know, sometimes it's going to mean going the extra mile. Especially when we're talking about family members. People always have a backstory, and sometimes those people that are very, very difficult to get along with are people that have that very difficult backstory. Maybe there was something in their past that has caused them to be the way that they are. However, there are times when you're going to have to set some boundaries on some relationships. Years ago, I had a friend, and it just seemed like nothing her husband ever did satisfied her. And so whenever we were together and she'd come by, she complained about everything he did. The problem was that though my marriage was great, I found myself being negative by the time my husband got home. And it wasn't long until he started making the connection and realized that when I was with her, that I was more irritable with him, with the kids, and even with myself. And I had to put some distance in that relationship. So be very, very mindful of the friendships that you have. Now, obviously, there are going to be those relationships you can't distance yourself. So in those cases, be prayerful when you're with those people. And again, just see if there are things that you can do to sort of help and navigate them coming to terms with things that they're going through. All right, communication is huge. We've got to be able to communicate. Sometimes we take a lot and we need to say something. Maybe you've got a friendship or even someone in your family, and there's just a lot of stress to that relationship. It may be time to have a conversation. And sometimes those conversations aren't easy. So again, just something to keep in mind. All right, so we are going on to hygiene. And this, you know, there may be some things that are very, very new for you, but these again are sometimes those little side things that can make such a difference. All right, the first one I learned during my classes when I was getting my certification, and I would often take a cotton washcloth and get it as hot as I could, wring it out, and then I'd proceed to rub like my arms and my shoulder, and it really felt good, and it really gets the blood circulating. It's also good at removing the dead cells, and it stimulates new growth. It's really good for scars and stretch marks. I'm sure none of us have stretch marks, but it's very, very helpful for that too. So that might be something. I would often do it in the morning because usually I take my shower at night. Another one that I never really gave too much thought was avoiding synthetic clothing. And again, this is something that we don't think about, but synthetic clothing is made from chemicals and versus natural fibers that are plant or animal based. So for example, cotton is a plant. Now, one word of caution, as much as possible, especially undergarments or things that are right directly on your skin, try to, whenever possible, buy things that are from organic cotton, because again, it is so heavily sprayed to get rid of the pesticides. All right. The other thing with synthetics, fabrics, they burn faster. So if ever for some reason there was a fire or anything like that, we've got to be really, really careful about that. Okay, so again, you want those natural fibers. Silk, most people don't wear a lot of silk, but it's a natural fiber. But again, cotton, linen, those types of things are usually very cool. And so again, we think of the wrinkles. That's why I think we started going towards that, because years ago, I grew up, my mom ironed everything. As a young wife, I ironed a lot of things. And then people decided we don't want to iron. So we went more towards the synthetics. But now there's more different fabrics and they've done some things to it. So consider when you go to replace some of your items, starting to look for more natural fibers. Another thing is even just, natural toothpaste. There's Tom's. I buy a brand that's called Hello. I get it at Walmart. Avoiding fluoride. We all grew up thinking we had to have fluoride. Again, lots of chemicals. And I believe it's done more damage than good. But again, this may be something that you need to do a little bit of investigating to decide on your own. Avoiding chemically perfumed cosmetics, skincare products. For years, I sold Avon when my kids were young. And I loved doing the scented shower gels and the spray and the body lotion and all of those things. But again, they're all chemically based. We should not put anything on our body that we're not willing to eat. Now, obviously, most of the things we wouldn't eat, but again, it needs to be safe enough so that if we got some in our mouth, it would not be something that we would be fearful that it would poison us. So many of the chemical products, and especially hair products, hair dye, so many of the things out there that we use on a regular basis are filled with harmful chemicals that often affect our endocrine system. And I believe that's one of the main reasons that women in particular have so many hormonal issues directly related to a lot of the products that we use. I've heard numbers and I don't remember, but it's crazy the number of chemicals we are in contact with on a daily basis if we're using the normal things that most women use. Deodorants, lotions, perfumes, skincare products, shower products, hair products, all of those types of things. So be more careful. Try to go natural. But read the ingredients, start to learn about those things, because even in the health food store, you will see a lot of items. We have to be careful. We have to know what we're looking for. I love DIY things because then I know exactly what's in it. I've made my toothpaste before. Right now I'm not, but I have. I do a lot with shea and coconut oil, coconut butter, skincare products. They're easy to make, they're inexpensive. I like to use drops of essential oils and they work wonderfully. And again, I wouldn't choose to eat it, but if I did, it would not be harmful. So again, those are things to think about. So again, what are things that you can be doing? Think about that as you go through your day, asking that question, is this healthy? Is this something that I should be doing? Okay, so again, these are things. Another one, it's not on here, candles. That's a big one. There's so many scented, and again, I loved vanilla candles and, all the different ones, cinnamon bun, and, you go to these candle parties. Another issue. Anymore, I use a diffuser. I have one here in my office, and I love using that to purify the air. And so many of them are so, so good for keeping you alert and helping you to think, versus a lot of the candles that are on the market. So again, just things, excuse me, things that you need to be aware of and cautious of. Again, a lot of these seem like very small things, but when you start to layer them and put them together, you can see how they can start to affect you. All right, so let's go to the next one, and attitude. And you know, my mantra this year has been mindset, because I think it is so, so critical. It can make or break. I so often see people so negative, and you see it throughout their life. And then when they say, I can't do it, as long as you keep saying, I can't, then you won't. As long as you say it's too hard, it will be too hard. But when we can make steps and acknowledge, okay, it's going to be hard. A lot of these changes are going to be hard. But when we go into it saying, I can do this, I'm going to start slow, but I will succeed. I will start making changes. Then we can see those things happen. We need to make sure that we're willing to be generous with our time and our energy. We need to be willing to open up our hands, because opening up my hands to give to you, now I have hands that are open that I can receive. And sometimes when we're trying to hold on so tightly to things, then there's no room for us to receive. All right? Live each day happily. Look for the positive. You know, you hear a lot about gratitude journals. There's something to be said for having positive thoughts, even when you don't feel like it. Look around you. What are those things? Because we all, even when things are difficult, there's always something good that we can focus on. The other thing, focus on the solutions and not the problems. Too often, we see the problem and we are so stuck on it. We can't see that right close by, there are some solutions. Okay? Sense of humor. I love that one. Be willing to be able to laugh at yourself. Years ago, I remember hearing, and I think I even posted something, we use so many muscles, more muscles when we smile versus when we frown. And so it's like we're giving our face exercise, a facelift, when we smile, when we laugh. And of course, being thankful is so important. And this could have easily gone on the first page, but being thankful. But we often don't think about even after the meal being thankful, no matter what it was, okay? So create a positive attitude, a positive environment. And I find that people don't want to be around somebody that's negative, okay? Because it brings us down. So nurture positivity. So again, look for ways to be positive. Look for ways to bring out the good. It makes such a difference. Now, our next one is meditation, I'm sorry. And this meditation and exercise we talked about in weeks 1 and 3. And so some of these things are things that we've talked about. But again, so very, very important. Treat yourself to daily quiet time. Try to start your day, because the day gets away from us. And so it's really important to start it well. Find that time, whether it's getting up even just 5-10 minutes earlier. Time to study, to pray, to meditate, whatever it is for you. I was listening to a doctor share, and she talked about even stretching, breathing. Those types of things can make such a difference. Again, little things, but boy, they can have a tremendous impact. Include exercise as part of your daily life in various forms. And there's so many. We're not stuck with just one thing. But just have fun with it. Whether it's gardening or walking, bicycling, whatever. I listened to a podcast a few weeks ago, and the mom said when she was young, she and her kids would, put towels on the floor, on their hardwood floor, and then step on the towel. They dampen their feet, and then that's how they clean the floor. And the kids got the biggest kick out of it. And she made cleaning fun. And I thought, I don't know that I did that with my kids. It was always like, clean your room. It's your day for dishes. Make cleaning enjoyable. Put on music, blast it, and get busy, and you'll burn some calories. So what are some things that you can do? Be thinking, how can you turn something that maybe isn't that much fun into something that could be? Okay, again, change of attitude. And then our last one, home practices. And these are things that we can do in the home that can make such a difference. Keep your home in good order. Easier said than done. But again, I notice a huge difference in how I feel when my house is clean versus when it's chaos and when it's a mess. It brings me down. And I know I've been going through a stage of really eliminating, getting rid of some things. That frees up me, that frees up time that would normally be in cleaning. And again, it's just easier to maintain. So do what you can. And again, sometimes when we're at that starting point and we're like, where do I even start? I like to sometimes just set a timer and say, okay, I'm going to dive in and I'm going to spend 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is that you've got to work in one corner, and then just start there. Get that one corner clean, and then it seems to encourage you to move. When we're just all over the place, then we don't see the progress. But when we can tackle, maybe it's your office, maybe it's your bedroom, maybe it's the kitchen, when we can tackle one little area and really start to see that one little corner of the desk clean, it at least puts a smile, and then we feel like, okay, I've got that one corner done, or that one cabinet. I know I need to do my linen closet, but if I can just start and then maybe do one shelf, it can make all the difference in the world. Our home is a reflection of us, and I feel better. I'm more hospitable. I want people to come by when my home's in order. Okay, things that we can also do, plants. I have lots of plants, but I just bought a new one just last week. I love having them. I like having one on my nightstand. Helps me breathe, purifies the air. And so plants are wonderful. Consider herbs in your kitchen. I have herbs growing, and in the winter I bring them in, but they can definitely be in your home. I often have herbs in the kitchen, and then I'm more likely to use them in my cooking. And of course, they're a plant, so they serve multiple benefits. Windows open. It's hot right now, but one of the things I do first thing in the morning is crank open my kitchen window just for a little fresh air, and it makes such a difference. We worry about pollution outside, but they say our homes are so heavily polluted from carpeting, upholstery, so many of the man-made products in our homes. So there again, that's why we do need the plants, and why we do need to open our homes up and get that fresh air. All right. Watch TV sparingly. I've been talking about in my Facebook group about personal development. Find other things beside TV. I remember I was hooked for years on HGTV. And one day it hit me, I was watching other people's dreams come true, but what about mine? And I hardly ever watch it. And I'm not saying that to get on anyone who does, because like I said, I watched it for years and years and years. But instead of just watching, now I'm doing things to better my home, to do things. So again, same with Pinterest. I was pinning all these things, tons and tons, but I was never making the things. And so now I'm more like, okay, what am I really going to do? So we often think I'm not very creative, and it's because too often we just grab for things and we're not going back to scratch and making things from scratch. So we lose that creativity. So try to create and make your home, no matter how small your space, into something very special, something warm. Make it your sanctuary. And again, with plants, maybe pictures on the wall, plaques, positive things. I've got lots of scripture on plaques, things that will remind you of your value, your worth, okay, who you are in Christ, okay? So make home a place that's inviting. I talked with a friend last week, and she lost her husband, I think 2-3 years ago. She meets with another friend who just recently, in the last year, lost her husband. And they get together every Monday and they cook together. And I thought, what a great idea. And so whether you're single or you have a family, but do those types of things, build those kinds of relationships, become part of others' lives, and invite people into your home and your life. We can make things so much better when we have community around us. And so hopefully these have given you some ideas of ways to improve your life, your wellness, and just who you are. Again, we so often can focus on the problem. There's a lot of solutions around us. We can't do everything, but pick a few. Go through these sheets and maybe circle the ones that you think, I think I'm going to try that. And then see if it works. It may not work for you, but it very well may. And so consider doing that. Use your blueprint, okay? And the things that you said, I will, start doing it. Start jotting down how often. Start tracking your steps. And so that then you can start to see progress. Again, it takes all of these things together to build the life that you want. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's taken you years to get where you're at, for me to get to where I'm at right now. So it's going to take some years to get further along. But we don't want to give up, and we want to encourage each other. And so I hope that you will take some of these things. I want to hear from you. Let me know what's working. Maybe you've added some things that weren't on this list. And so again, thank you for signing up for this course. Sorry for all the technical challenges that I had, but I hope that you have gained some new ideas, some new perspectives, and some things that you can start doing. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Some of you I will be contacting to find out when a time that we can get on a call and talk about how you can move forward with your blueprint. And so I would love if there are things that jumped out at you that you thought, okay, I'm doing this. I would love for you to put it in writing and consider shooting me an email so that I would be able to use maybe, your testimonial, or your thoughts on how things that you've learned are helping you. So anyway, again, I want to stay in contact. Please, 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 as you work through this, reach out to me. And I hope that you are part of my community on Facebook and are following along. And if there's some things that I can help you with, I want to do that. So have a wonderful and safe summer, and I will be in touch with some of you. Take care.